What's up, goons and gals? It's your boy Gerard Michaels here. I'm on vacation in the Florida Keys, but I have an opportunity to break some real news and clear the air on what is being widely reported as the third assassination attempt against former and perhaps future President Donald J. Trump. Vem Miller, who was accused of the assassination attempt, is actually somebody I know. It's a podcaster, and I've been on the show with him. I'm skeptical of the reports that them, who I know to be a Trump supporter, would look to assassinate President Trump. So I figured let's just get to the bottom of it and ask them if he would come on and speak with us and speak with me on your behalf to clear the air from his perspective. And without further ado, this is Vem Miller.
This is Gerard Michaels. Obviously, subscribe, and do all that good stuff. I'm joined today with a fellow podcast host, Vem Miller, a citizen journalist turned accused presidential assassin.
Yeah.
You are the third, I guess officially, you are the third assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. Why don't you tell people what's going on, man?
So, I've been doing a series of interviews all morning. I think at this point, even the mainstream media, I just did an interview with Fox. They all know that this is complete nonsense. They've done their research. They know I was no assassin. They know that Sheriff Bianco and his deputy, without evidence, made insane claims, absolutely unsubstantiated claims, which they have all walked back, by the way, now. Everything they've said practically that was of criminal substance, there's a lot of conjecture that's left there. And by the way, we know that somebody's not doing their jobs as a cop if they're not dealing with the two main topics of relevance. It's pretty black and white. It's like it's either lawful or it's unlawful, right? All this stuff about feelings, emotions, all that stuff's out of it, right? And so essentially, now there's enough information out there that, my story is accurate, true. These guys are lying their ass off. The question is, why are they lying their ass off? Which we'll get to that. There's a few theories out there. But the long and short of it is I run this thing called the America Happens Network, which I started to do for the purpose of doing uncensored media, where we do podcasts like my Blood Money podcast. My business partner, Mindy Robinson, does this documentary series called Conspiracy Truths. We have a news show. We have a music show called HN Music Live. It's Top 5 Countdown. And a bunch of different shows, because the idea of this network was to really build a network that's like a 360 America 2.0 network, and medicine shows, by the way, medical shows that help to avoid things like what happened to COVID, pandemic, scamdemic, where, people were given things that were not good for their health versus what is good for their health, and what a lot of doctors were, yelling and screaming that people should be taking, like hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, as well as zinc and other things like that. So
if you'd like to check out Ben's Blood Money, may I suggest check out the episode that I was on? That's a good prep for people coming from here to there. So then I guess the question asks itself, if this wasn't an assassination attempt, was this a publicity stunt?
I mean, honestly, to pull off a publicity stunt like this is, human nature is unpredictable. Like, I would have to predict something like from point A to Z, A, B, C, D, this is going to happen. That's going to lead to this, and that's going to lead to this, which honestly is so impossible. There's no way for anybody to predict that. What I've done every single rally, and this is very important to distinguish, right? When I've gone to rallies, it's there's two locations relevant to rallies. It's not one location, it's two locations, and they're wholly separate. You have the parking lot, and then you have the rally and its perimeter, right? And these are two separate locations, usually at minimum a quarter mile apart, usually up to a mile apart, because the threat of assassination is not just by gun, it's also by car bomb, right? So car bombs, Timothy McVeigh style explosion, is why they separate these two. So in my mind, as a guy that's gone to many rallies, expertise, that understands the security measures, because I've talked to a lot of people like yourself, but also people that are in the fields of, investigating feds, Secret Service. I knew that the location I'm going to is a private parking lot. Then I'm getting out of my car and I'm walking about a quarter mile up to a mile to get to the rally perimeter, which is also heavily secured. The second thing is the two firearms that are referenced here is one is a 4-foot tall shotgun, which is not a very effective, even though I'm not a very experienced gun person. A shotgun is not a very effective assassination tool, especially when it sticks out like a sore thumb and it's absolutely impossible to get past the perimeter. The other gun is a Glock 19, which is also a very ineffective tool, if that was ever even a thought. So none of this matches up. None of this matches up.
You're accused of attempting to assassinate presidential candidate Trump. You're not accused of being a good assassin. You're just accused of attempting to assassinate.
Yeah.
So why did you bring the guns to the rally?
I didn't bring the guns to the rally. That's the distinction I'm trying to make. Like, even if there was never guns to the rally, it was my car going into parking lot, a separate parking lot, separate location, and then me getting at a separate location and walking quarter of a mile, half a mile, or a mile. In this case, I think it was at least more than half a mile to the actual rally location. So that's never been.
I was shocked too when we were at the Rescue the Republic event. I was shocked at how limited the security was there.
Yeah.
I was actually, frankly, talking to I was trying to prep my cameraman, and you saw we were in that press tent. That was a zoo. We had no idea who was in there, who had credentials, who didn't. So this whole thing has gotten so chaotic. But I find the security details to be shockingly inept at this season cycle. I would imagine. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I mean, we walked right into the press tent behind. We were basically backstage. There wasn't a bag that was checked. It was pretty amazing.
But did you notice how while we're backstage, by the way, and again, I was in a privileged area, and I actually went to the backstage area. At one point, one of my colleagues who was a speaker got us into the backstage, so I was very close to the people that were not coming to our media area. If you notice, RFK Jr. didn't come to the media area. If you notice, Russell Brand didn't come to the media area. And there's a reason for that, because like you said, that wasn't a very secured area. Yes, we were hanging out there and we had a lot of, quote unquote celebrities, politicians, whatever.
Yeah, I got me a lot of trouble with my producers. Everybody that I was sent there to cover never actually came through. So they were pretty busy.
Yeah, which I know in one instance we had to actually go to the backstage area because that person's security detail would not bring them to the media area, because that would, and again, even the backstage area wasn't secured that well, especially when you consider something like a Trump rally, which is secured much better, especially now. But early on, I could tell you, I know people that were able to, before the first assassination, I knew people that walked in with handguns in their pockets because it was that bad. It had to take the first assassination attempt for them to tighten it up. And also what's interesting, Gerald, is I got to mention this, right? The first assassination, second assassination attempt, there was Trump ducked. There was popping sounds. Remember those reports where it was kind of like, it wasn't like somebody tried to kill the president. It was like, they heard boom sounds. You know what I mean? Then when mine comes up, it's like Vem Miller, third assassin, and it happens all at once. So I don't know what happened there.
Well, the quote was that I believe it was the deputy said he was absolutely certain this was an assassination attempt. I can actually pull up the direct quote. I'm paraphrasing here, but the headline was, "I am absolutely certain this is an assassination."
Yeah, I'm absolutely certain he's about to lose his job. I'm absolutely certain that department's going to be investigated heavily. I'm absolutely certain that this governor, or I should say this sheriff that has political aspirations will never have those political aspirations come true. That's what I'm really absolutely certain of.
Sheriff Bianco says the suspect showed up with multiple passports with different names, an unregistered vehicle with a fake license plate, and multiple loaded firearms. If you're asking me right now, I probably did have deputies that prevented the third assassination, the sheriff told reporters. The man, identified as 49-year-old Vem Miller, was taken into custody without incident, the sheriff's office said in a statement earlier this day. So Sheriff Bianco says that was claiming that him and his team most likely prevented a third assassination. That's the quote.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so you, by the way, the Secret Service and the FBI had opportunities to interview me, even though this deputy sheriff that you refer of said, "Oh, they're going to interrogate you and all that." 3.5 hours in, they had an opportunity into the ordeal. They had an opportunity to interrogate me. 6.5 hours in, they had an opportunity to interrogate me. Both times they declined. Both times, and they came out with a statement that they don't think I was there for any ill will. They said that the president was in no danger, which is what you do when you actually do things like investigate and gather evidence. And this is why the sheriff department being sued right now. The lawsuit is already filed. The lawyer is actually a very prominent lawyer. Two lawyers I have working on this, but one of them is known as one of the Republican Party National Committee chairwomen. Also has done very high profile cases. And what's going to happen at the end of this is that these guys' career is over. They're both, this deputy and sheriff, are done. It's just a matter of time. I do believe criminal charges are necessary, because what we're finding out as we investigate this actual sheriff is that there's a ton. I mean, it's like Tony Soprano running the sheriff's department. That's
Is
the
that
best way to
right?
put it. This guy's a criminal, 100%. $7.5 million judgment because of his bad deeds very recently. Multiple inmates dying of malnutrition while in his custody. Okay. Investigated in 2023 as running a completely belligerent department. Evidence that's coming forth of bribery of individuals in order to shut people up because they're exposing corruption. We recently found out that he's quite anti-Second Amendment, because every time one of his employee or one of the cops has a workers' comp issue, he takes their guns away. He takes their gun rights away. And that was through a whistleblower that came late last night, who is actually a police officer right now. And he says 50% of the officers despise him. And there's other things that are happening, like financial records are not coming through, where he's making an outrageous amount of money. I think one of his financial records showed $600,000 in 1 year. 300,000 of it came from his salary. The other 3,000 of it came from something called others. So we're going to find out what that other is. So long and short is, this sheriff is toast. My story is turning out to be the credible story. And unfortunately, it has to play out that way, because you're dealing with a level of incompetence and ill will that is not supposed to be what happens with sheriffs.
What were you doing at the rally, Ben? Were you there to cover it?
No, I was invited by a special invitation, and because I ran for office in 2022 in Nevada as a Republican candidate, and also because I'm actively involved in the Trump caucus team, Trump team captain, and also I think Trump team leader or whatever, one of those terms. I'm also helping to gather votes for President Trump, which I did in the primary. So I got a special invite for that.
Yeah, which would be a shocking turn of events. That's a hell of a long play by you to try to get the guy elected, and then go ahead and in 3 weeks before it, use a shotgun from a mile and a half away to get rid of all that hard work.
Like, bro, this is the thing. This is so logical. This guy got on stage, the sheriff, and said, common sense and logic. Like, come on, bro. Common sense and logic. Like, you don't even have one piece of evidence to corroborate these insane allegations. You don't have, like, people were like, I have maybe 25 different calls from mainstream media press. They're like, and I'm talking about people that were trying to gotcha you when they first heard about this, but then they went on my Instagram and they're like, there's no way this guy is what you guys are saying he is. He's like got pictures with all these like Republicans and whatever. And these are not sheriffs. These are not officers of the law. These are reporters, and these reporters are coming because they'd rather get the sensational piece from me. But by the time they arrive and look at the evidence, they're like, dude, like, we're going to look like jerk offs if we come after you really hard, because it's clear you've done nothing. But yet the sheriff, and I'll tell you why, there's a lot of potential self-interest in there. There's governor aspirations of the sheriff, that he thought he was going to be like this big media celebrity. And the thing that I really detest there, having come from Hollywood and produced content content is, you know this, there's people in Hollywood that are willing to sell their souls for fame and fortune, right? And to me, that's always been a detestable thing because I've seen horrible things come out of that, right? And we're seeing the manifestation of that through stories like what happened with P. Diddy and other, what I call celebrity whores. That's what they are. They're prostitutes seeking attention because they lack whatever they lack inside their soul, and they're willing to sell their soul, right? And it's very sad that this is the character of Sheriff Bianco. That's his character. That he took what was this kind of sensational 15 minutes of fame situation, flat out lied so he could get his spotlight on for his future political aspirations, and it turned out to be all a complete lie.
Well, power does unfortunately attract the worst and corrupt the best, and the entertainment industry, as we've both been in, is the only proof you'll ever know that cliche to be true. Let's steel man the other side, then. Let's put ourselves in the sheriff's shoes and those LEO's shoes. What do you think was going through their mind? How did the detainment begin? What tell the listeners and the viewers exactly what went down, and perhaps from their perspective, what did they think that they were dealing with?
So I do what I do when I go to any such event. Before I park my car, as I'm entering the parking lot, if I see an officer, I let them know that I have firearms in the truck. For example, worst case scenario, somebody breaks into the truck, they know that there's a shotgun and a Glock in there. And by giving notice, a lot of the Nevada police I've talked with are actually flattered that I even have that kind of respect to them. This is something that I learned in 2022 when I was knocking on doors. Many police officers were very happy to see me knock on. They asked me, questions about what my policies were, and I started forming relations with them. So I like treating them well. Unfortunately, I forgot I'm in California, and I did the exact same thing. As I'm driving up to where the entrance of the parking lot would be, I saw a police officer on my left side. I told him exactly this, and that's where this nightmare ordeal began. Because I could see.
So they thwarted the assassination attempt by you telling them that you had firearms?
Yeah, I was the one that told him I had firearms, man. This is like common practice for me, just in transparency, because I don't want, like, the last thing I want is something from my car stolen, and then there's a guy running around with my gun and with its serial numbers, lawfully registered serial numbers, and I've given no notice. But also know that 50% of the car's trunks in there most likely have firearms. So, like, with that logic,
that's important food too for people to know that aren't necessarily familiar with Nevada, really, but it is not uncommon to be driving around with a firearm. It's not an uncommon thing. It almost be in some parts of Nevada, it would be more uncommon to not have a firearm.
Exactly. All my friends that I know carry firearms. The women that I know carry firearms in their purses. I mean, it's a whole different culture. But yeah, I mean, that's literally all it was. I told him, and then, by the way, when I told him, I could see on the look on this guy's face, kind of a dumb look on his face, like I was like, listen, bro, like, if you're concerned or whatever, I'm like, I could give you the firearms. There's like 10 police cars over there. Put it in the trunk. I'll pick it up later, right? Or I could just do a U-turn and leave. But instead, they started this whole insane ordeal. We had a deputy sheriff that was clearly prejudiced against me, and he was the fulcrum between the FBI and the Secret Service and myself. And it's very clear that, like, he had an agenda, because he was trying to convince them of something, and they were just kind of like, "Nah, dude, there's a nothing burger." Because you know what those guys did? I'm sure the minute they found out these accusations, they ran a check on me. On a peripheral check, you could actually see my social media, which does not resemble somebody that's a leftist killer of Trump. If you do a deeper dive check on me, you find that everything that they thought was clues to, like, potential assassin was actually logical, documented, and it was a nothing burger. So that's why they didn't even interview me, and frankly, they stayed out of it. And the lawsuit is against the county and the state and the department, as opposed to them having done something that they'd be liable for. I mean, I just think they wanted to wash their hands of it. That's why.
Did you have any of the other hallmarks of domestic terrorism, like a noose or bleach? Were you yelling, "This is MAGA country"? Did you have a bicycle or a step ladder, perhaps, or any of the other things that our crack team of assassins have been able to defeat the Secret Service with in the previous months?
No, nothing. No, I mean they did a forensic search of my car. So what they lied to me. This arresting deputy sheriff told me that, hey, like at first he told me, hey, the only thing we're concerned about is that those are lawfully registered firearms. So I said, yeah, they are, and you're welcome to check in my car. I told him the location. The shotgun was lodged between the trunk and the seat, so you can't even move it unless you move the seats up. The Glock was basically in the back. And I told him, you're totally welcome to go in there, retrieve the
So you
cereals. I
were
have
fully
nothing tied.
compliant the whole time.
Yeah. I told him, get the cereals.
Even
If that's
offered
the
to share your edibles the whole night.
what's up?
Even offered to share your edibles the whole night.
I wish I had edibles, man. I would have been, that would have been a much more pleasant experience going through what I went through. But, essentially, they were telling me they just want to check the cereals, but rather than doing that, they ransacked the crap out of my car. Bomb sniffing dogs, swab tests, 15 officers or 10 to 15 officers roaming around my car, looking at everything, opening my luggage, going through my computers, going through my hard drives, going through my cameras, like you name it. They did it. They turned my car upside down and they found absolutely nothing.
So, when did you realize that this was turning left, that this was going south? Did you get your attorneys involved? What did you do to protect yourself as you realized, man, this is not a typical search event I'm going through right now?
So on a dozen occasions, I asked for my phone call to my lawyer, or that one phone call that they're supposed to give you by law. They refused it. I never got my one phone call. So that evening, even though I realized that this was bad, this was wrong, it's what happened was basically, I wasn't, able to talk to my attorney, but then the next day, basically a lawsuit was filed yesterday. The lawsuit was filed yesterday, end of day, by a very prominent attorney. That's already in action now. That's going to be served, and that's also available online for anybody that has Pacer. They could actually go search the Nevada District Court, Federal District Court, and see that this lawsuit was actually filed. Read the lawsuit, see all the criminal behavior and all the insanity that these individuals did, this department did.
How has this affected you, Ben? How has this affected you since that day?
My life has completely changed. It's completely changed. There was a girl I was dating. She broke up with me via text, and
really?
then yeah. Then I'm walking around trying to get some clothes because my clothes are impounded, and it's like, I don't know if you've seen that Fugitive movie with Dr. Richard Kimball. Like, see people staring down. Back then it was newspapers. Now it's cell phones. They look at it. They look up. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. The police department in Nevada calls me saying they're concerned for my welfare because a lot of these headline readers might still think that I'm a potential Trump assassin and thus try to kill me, Jack Ruby style, to seek retribution for my evil deeds. I mean, everything's changed. And, it's just, I don't know if there's any ultimate restitution for this, because even in a court case and stuff, like, how do you erase the internet? How do you erase the damage done? Like, do I have to now go live off somewhere else? Do I have to go live in some, secured location for the rest of my life, or at least for a given period of time? These are all things that were never in my mind, never something I had to contend with, that I'm contending with now because of this criminal behavior. This was criminal behavior by these people, and that's what I'm having to contend with right now.
And so, for like you said, so for the future, the foreseeable future, when people Google or search or DuckDuckGo Ben Miller, Blood Money's not going to come up. Your shows are not going to come up. Your past work is not going to come up. What's going to come up is attempted presidential assassin.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you combat that? What are the plans to combat that sort of character assassination? That to use, I don't mean to be insensitive with that term, but that you're currently living through it.
There's, with the people that are smart and astute enough, you combat it by putting out the truth. With people that are headline readers, then really there's nothing you could do. That's why I'm saying there's no complete restitution for this. There's no complete repair for this. because of by virtue of the fact that a lot of people don't have the intellectual depth to do their own research to come to like logical conclusions. That's what it is. This sheriff started talking about common sense and logic. Well, common sense and logic would dictate that you have evidence before you say crazy things, right? Which he didn't have, So there's individuals that are of that ilk, like this sheriff, like his deputy, probably lower IQ individuals, Donald Trump would say, that are just out there. And those people I'm never going to be able to convince. So that's kind of what makes me think that, ultimately, maybe I just got to very severely modify my life going forward.
In a very Trumpian manner, you are now the victim of both fake news and the weaponization of the Justice Department. In some ways, this perhaps would draw some empathy from the Trump camp. Have you had anybody try to reach out to him and his camp to make sure that he knows that you had no intention of harming him whatsoever? In fact, you've been advocating for his reelection.
That's already been established because of my friends in the Republican Party that travel up very high in ranks, including one of the national committee chairwomen, who is my lawyer, who has the ear of Trump. I'm not so worried about that. I wouldn't want Donald Trump to contact me right now, because the issue lies here that we have, and I would literally want no contact, because I want Donald Trump to win. And because the issue that lies here is that those headline readers, some people know what's happened, some people are just too lazy to find out what's happened, but those people, we still need their votes for Donald Trump to win. So those people, I wouldn't want Donald Trump to have any contact with me, nor anybody associated with his campaign, because I've already gotten the word through internal means of I'm cool, like we're cool still, right? But there is those headline readers that would maybe tend to not vote for Donald Trump if he's associating with somebody like me. So for right now, I just want November 5th to pass. I have a feeling it's not going to be November 5th, by the way. I think this thing's going to drag out like crazy. It's going to be a mess. But once, hopefully, God willing, Trump wins the election, then I would love to go shake his hands. I got a lot of really great ideas, bills that I'm working with higher ups in the Nevada Republican Party on how to redefine the mainstream media, because that's been one of the problems with this, where something that was unsubstantiated was all of a sudden, almost in coordinated fashion, just put out there in a massive way. And for some reason, the first two people that actually did try to assassinate Donald Trump, they weren't given the names. Like I said, it's popping sounds and weird noises, whereas me was like Van Miller potential. And I look at the coordinated fashion of that. I look at the work that we do at the America Happens Network and exposing corruption, 800 plus episodes, documentary shows. And I wonder how much of an effect that had on this situation. How much of an effect that had on the situation.
Oh yeah, do you think that this is you could potentially, obviously it would only be speculation, but do you think you were potentially set up?
Man, I don't want to make I've come up with 4 different options of what this could have been. 2 of them involve a little bit more of a lavish kind of like, it's the work that I'm doing that's causing it to be this kind of attack. The other 2 options are, one, self-serving, anti-MAGA, not very intelligent deputy. The other option is like this Bianco sheriff has political aspirations. He thought he could look like the hero and maybe become next governor. So 2 of the options are really personal, selfish, narcissistic. The other 2 go into that kind of more organizational type attack, which the organizational part, I think there is some credence to it because of how quick this was. Now, could it be that they screwed up so bad on the first 2 by kind of like making it seem like it was popping sounds and it wasn't an assassination, so they felt that they had to come out hard? Again, the way my name was in headlines and all that, anything's possible.
Yeah, I think, as the old saying goes, never attribute to malice what can be attributed to incompetence, and never attribute to incompetence what can be attributed to just narcissistic power seeking as well. People see an opportunity and to get their name in the headlines, and they really do. They try to seize it. So moving forward here, but and again, you have been an outspoken, let's say, skeptic of my personal feelings align with yours. It's no secret to anybody that follows me. But you've been an outspoken skeptic of the pandemic response and origins. Been an outspoken skeptic of the truth and veracity of the 2020 election. Do you see the 2024 election that we have coming up through your sources and your research? Do you see that as something that that is in jeopardy of perhaps foul play.
Look, I already know it's Jeopardy. Remember, I told you two of the options are big conspiracy type options, and then potential conspiracy truth options. Well, we get a lot of information at the America Happens Network. All I could tell you is we might have stumbled onto something very huge. There's other individuals involved. It involves 2020. It's 2024. Sorry. It's convinced me that they will try to steal 2024. There is that threshold where it starts looking ridiculous. That's why I think a lot of these polls have them very even, because they say this 4% differential. Like, he actually have to have legitimately 4% of the vote in order to counteract the fake voting. So he's got to win.
Yeah, they have to make it plausible. They've got to make the swing plausible when all of a sudden at 4 o'clock in the morning there's 900,000 votes for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it has to be plausible. You look like you haven't slept in a couple of days, man. I can see that this is really weighing on you, man. I hope everything is finally starting to settle down and you're getting your hands on top of these things.
It's not going to settle down. I haven't slept a lot, but not so much. I'm not anxious and stuff. I'm not like stressed out by it. It's a little bit more like now it's like savage mode and stuff, and being alert. I don't even call it angry. I am pissed off. I'm starting to feel pissed off. I wasn't feeling that yesterday, but now that it's all coming in picture and I'm realizing how insane this was, how incompetent this was, how unnecessary it was. I'm definitely like, I can't rest until the sheriff is removed from his position. I can't rest until this department is severely investigated. This deputy is removed from his position, and we won't stop there, because I don't think like these kind of retirements, removal from office is enough. There needs to be criminal,
Golden parachute.
huh?
Golden parachute.
Yeah, exactly. No golden parachutes. There has to be criminal charges. These people need to learn how it feels like to be put in jail, but put not in jail like I was put in jail under false pretenses, but put in jail for the crimes they've committed.
Then tell the people where they can find you and what you'd like them to check out first.
AmericaHappens.com. AmericaHappens.com is the best place. And the Bundy versus Deep State documentary, which, remember I told you there's two kind of theories as far as how this could be organizational. A lot of people seem to think that releasing that Bundy versus Deep State documentary was the reason why this happened, because that Bundy versus Deep State documentary exposes the fraud of the federal government, exposes how they've been stealing state rights, are we the people's rights, and has a way of getting out of it through lawsuit, which is also published and has been filed on America Happens website. You'll see the lawsuit there that has been filed. I recommend, if you watch anything, don't watch my stuff, don't watch necessarily Blood Money, watch Bundy versus Deep State. If you have 40 minutes, watch that first and foremost, and then go check out the rest of the stuff on America Happens.
And just to clarify, that's about Bundy Ranch. That's not about serial killer Ted Bundy. So just, to set the proper
Bundy Ranch.
And finally, for the record, just go ahead and tell the audience that's going to be watching this very, very shortly, in your own words, were you attempting to assassinate former President Trump?
No, I think that's adequately already been shown to be a ridiculous notion. In order for me to plan this after having done 800 something episodes, most of which are pro-Trump, and also supporting his campaign, as a campaign person that's going out there trying to get votes, and a Trump team leader, and going to like 20 plus Trump rallies and like private, kind of rooms where there's only 200 people there, and I could like literally reach out and touch Trump. That is an insane notion. And obviously the feds and Secret Service, that are the authorities that are supposed to investigate those kind of crimes, certainly saw no issue there. So yeah, the whole thing's preposterous. And it also tells you the power of fake news, by the way. So for people out there, I have friends from Hollywood that now are contacting me because they were not very happy that I went MAGA, that are like, now like, wait a minute, dude, we know you're not an assassin. So that world is falling apart to them. They just made me a potential assassin. And these guys, as much as they hated my politics, are now seeing, wait a minute, he keeps saying fake news for the last 6 years, and on over and over again on his Facebook account, on his Instagram account, and now they have an example of what fake news does. So you know what, this could happen to you. Remember that.
Well, I hope that in some small way this helps to clear your name. Continue fighting for the justice that you deserve, And you do some great work over at America Happens. Keep up the great work. Sorry that this happens to you. Next time, don't bring two guns into California. Just avoid California at all. The next time you go to Coachella, right? maybe that's what it is. You got to go burn some stage at the next Coachella event or just avoid it altogether. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Vem, I'm glad that you're getting out in front of this, and I hope things, like you said, you get the justice and the clarity for your name that you so deserve.
Awesome. And one compliment, dude. I know I always say this to you, man. That coincidences piece, bro, is like just I love it, dude. And you know what? The sheriff needs some coincidences right now, but joking,
Oof, you should give the Sabatinis a call, see what they can talk about. You never know. They know how to make things disappear. You know what I'm
saying? Could you make all this online stuff disappear?
You got well, that's the Sabatinis. Yeah, they've been operating in the shadows for over 200 years. Coincidentally on purpose. Yeah, I know some guys at the Sabatinis. I'll give them a call for you. See what they can do.
Awesome, bro. Awesome.
So that's Vem Miller in his own words. It's very different than the story as it's being reported. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Do you think Vem is telling the truth? Do you think that he was mistreated? And please, if you do think that he is telling the truth, share this video so we can help clear his name, especially with the crazies that are out there looking to punish him for something that he didn't do. So please like, share, subscribe, and help us clear Vem's name. Or leave in the comments below why you think he's not telling the truth. I personally believe him, but, I don't know. I'm supposed to be an objective journalist. I'm not a journalist. I'm a comedian. What do I know?